Hello and g'day! In today's video, I'm going to share a Santa's Bakery Tags freebie Christmas gift. This is my Christmas gift to you for 2020. It's been a short year, and what I mean by that is it's gone really fast. It's been the most unusual year I've ever experienced. I've made this recipe tag for you because you've all become my friends. You've all turned up week after week to watch my tutorials. And every time you turn up, you leave me the most beautiful compliments. I really appreciate them. Everything you do helps me grow. It helps me become a better creator. I thank you very, very much. Enjoy your small and colourful gift. I've got this printable available in two designs, very similar. And I've also got it available in an A4 and a letter size. What that does is it helps you when you're printing so you don't lose the right size when I do a pattern or a design. It always will print out the right size for you. So when you get my patterns or my designs, always leave it on actual size. I'm going to go through that in a minute. This one here has a white background. So that means you could choose to print this one, and if you wanted to, you could print it on this paper. And this paper here would turn out to be your background, and you would see just the word Santa and the tree and the bakery and things like that would turn out on top of this. And the back would have the recipe on it. You would get your 12 by 12 scrapbook sheet and you would cut that down to letter size or A4 size. And that would look, pretty cool because it's Christmas time and it's cookies, and you would pick a colour that would work in with your print. You could print this over a sturdy book paper, so a book page, as long as it was sturdy. If it wasn't sturdy, you could then go ahead and glue that onto a piece of white cardstock. You could pick a colour that was a bit, that would work in well with the gingerbread. So you could do so many things colour-wise. And that's why I've picked this lovely buttercup yellow to do the same for this one. So each time you pick a colour, you're going to get a different look. This one I picked blue. I didn't quite have the right colour blue I was looking for. I wanted the same colour blue in the tree here. And this was the closest I picked up at the time. So, they still turned out okay. I still think they look pretty cool. And then I've got this pink one here. If I was to print out, because you've got the pink icing on here, if I was to print that on here, I think that would look beautiful. So you can print the one with the white background according to this piece of cardboard because it's white. You could print that on any colour, and whatever your background is what colour your background will be. If you've got no coloured cardboard but you want something a little different, you print that on white cardstock, you'll still have that colour. You will not get the same effect. If you print that on yellow or pink, you'll still get those stripes because it is a solid. The stripes are two colours, so they're solid. You won't get a different colour background. And then what you will get, if you had a pink like that, your back would be pink, but your front won't. Now you know a little bit about the colours. I'll show you how to do the printing. So I'm just going to move over to my computer. I use a desktop computer, so I won't be doing my demonstration using a phone or a tablet, only my desktop. Today's video, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on printing. So I'm actually going to show you how I print. I've got a print on one side and a print on the back side, and how I get them to line up. You see these sliders here? Make sure they're not too tight and they're not too loose, because if this moves around and goes in crooked, your back won't line up with the front. So make sure these little guides here are just snug so that it keeps your paper feeding through straight. I'm in my documents on my desktop, and here is the PDF that I'm going to open up and print out. Double click on the PDF file and that'll open up here to your 4-page printable. This page here is the instructions. So this is the first page you're going to see when you open it up. This is the second page of the PDF. The third page. And the fourth page. Now we're looking at this page. Up here, you'll see it's called page 2. So if we were to go to our print dialog box by going up here to File, then scroll down to Print and open this dialog box. Choose the printer you're going to use to print. I'm using my Canon printer today. And then across here, you've got all, current and pages. See how it's got the numbers 1 to 4. And the first page you look at is always the first page on the list, which is this one here. So you're looking at all of the pages. If you hit print now, you'll print the whole 4 pages. We don't want to print all of them. We just want to print the current page, which is this one here. Page 2 of the PDF. So you put current. So you click that current, and that has to match this area here. So that is the only page we want to print in actual size. You don't need to change the size, and make sure it's on portrait, and then hit print. It will only print this current page. Now, if you wanted just this tag to be just like this and nothing on the back, that's it, you're done. You just come out now to your table and cut these out. And then put the holes in them and turn them into a tag. You could make the back a journaling card, or just make it a tag however you want. But if you wanted the recipe on the back, now's the time to print it. So we're going to come down, we're going to skip this tag here. We're going to come down to page 4. There's no border around this tag, because what we want to do is print this tag on the back of this one here. So what we need to do is put this back into the printer so that it's going to print the recipe on the other side. I've got it set up so that when you put this back in the printer, the recipe will line up exactly in line with these tags. Depending on how your printer works, ideally all you need to do is look at how this come out of your printer. I know this one come out like this. It come out with the word Santa first. So it was sitting in my printer like that. So just so you can see it, that's how it come out. So I know when I print my recipe on the back, what I have to do to make the recipe come out the same way and the right way up is just get my tag print and turn it over that way. So it's now going to get put back in the printer, just like that. I'm working around my camera here. Put back in the printer, and now I go back to my computer and I tell it to print this page. So we're going to make sure we're on this page here. Come back up to the file button up the top here, left hand corner, click on that, click on print again, and click on the current button. If you do not click on the current button, it's going to print all 4 pages. You must remember to hit that current button. I don't have to change any of my settings because I had it set up before. I've got it set up how I want it, and I'm going to hit print. It's going to start printing in a minute. And you see how the recipe is turning out with the top of the recipe coming out first. That's exactly the way we want it. That's exactly the way the first print come out. The top of the card come out first, and the same with that way. So now if I held that up to the light, I'd be able to see through it and see that the recipe is in line with the tag. And you can do exactly the same for this one. All we need to do is move the print on the PDF down to here. We're going to come down to page 3. Go up to File, down to Print, go on the current button so that you see the page that you're going to print. Stay on actual size and hit print. Now that's going to get sent through to the printer and start printing again. See how the word Santa is coming out first? When you do your printing, take note of that. Now we're going to get this and we're going to turn it over, just like that. And that's how I'm now going to feed that back through the printer. It's that way, upside down. Put it back in, making sure it's straight. We're going to move this print all the way down to the recipe. Go back up, File, Print, hit the current pages to print, hit print again, here we have the text facing up the right way again. Don't forget, printing the recipe is optional. All right, now we are finished with this printer. So I'll quickly show you how I cut these out. So we removed the black line. I'll just cut out one of each. I'll only do a demo on cutting out one, and then I'll cut the others out off camera, and then I'll just show you how I colour the hole reinforcers to match the gingerbread cookies, and then we're done. Tie some string on them, and that's how quick and easy they are. I zoomed in mighty close so you can see the black lines. I don't use a trimmer. I like to use a ruler and a craft knife because it gives me more accuracy. So I'm using this Scotch craft knife, and I put the ruler to the inside of the tag so that cuts away the black line. So I'm leaving the black line on the waste paper. Then I turn it around and I do the same on the edge of the tag. I put the ruler to the inside of the tag and cut away that black line. That's pretty much it. I do that all the way around. You do need to hold, when you use a ruler like this, you do need to hold things still, and sometimes you need to stretch your finger out and hold a piece like that so you don't move your ruler. So that's the front and that's the back, and the recipe has lined up pretty good on the back, and that's why it's important to put this through your printer nice and square when you do that at the back. So I'll just get the other ones ready so that we can ink them up all at the same time. It doesn't take very long at all to get these ready. So our next step, we're going to colour around the edges. Now, I just use the vintage photo. You could use whatever colour is your favourite, and it just helps to frame the edge of the tag. Now I've done one with no print on the back, just in case you're not interested in the gingerbread recipe. Now when I put my hole reinforcers on, I put my holes in first. I'm using the Fiskars hole punch. I just line that up to the center. Don't go too close to the top because you don't want your hole reinforcer to hang over the top. Pop that in the middle. Now I'll just very quickly show you how I colour the hole reinforcers to get this colour that matches the gingerbread. I like making my own colours because sometimes if you want to use, say, rusty hinge, that would be too dark to just do on its own. And then if you want vintage photo, well, that's also going to be just too brown to do on its own. And then we've got tea dye. That would probably work okay on its own if you just had tea dye, and I'll show you that. So what I do is I just get some of the ink from just doing these edges. I get that off, and I'll start off with my light colour. I'll use some tea dye, and I'll just go over the top nice and light because the tea dye is pretty good. So I've just got some darker area and some lighter area. I like it to be not all equal. You'll see here it's lighter and darker. So there's my tea dye on there. And then I'll change it over and then get some rusty hinge out. And I'm just going to stay on the edge here a little bit, and you see how now I'm getting more of a gingerbread colour. And now I'm going to go in the middle of these two here and just sort of go on the side of my sponge a little bit and just colour the middle there. So I'm still leaving one side of this light and I'm getting a bit of variation there. I'm not putting too much of that rusty hinge on there because it can be quite a strong colour. Now, instead of using this vintage photo, because it is a fairly wet pad, I'm going to get one of my older ones out that hasn't got a lot of ink in it. And I'm just going to use that. I don't want it too dark. I'm going to very lightly go over the top and get a bit of vintage photo in there, just to give it some browns. Just to give it that matching colour on the edge so it does tie in. And that's it. I've got some lovely variation there. It's not all one colour and it looks pretty cool. And of course you can see you'll never get the same colours again. I've done that last night, this one last night, and I've done this one today. So, you know, I've put a lot more. I think this one here I've put a lot more tea dye. Actually, I think I went over the top of it in tea dye, that one. Just went back over the top. Probably used a little less of the vintage photo. They look pretty good when you mix your own colours. I always like to also just how I place them on is I keep in mind how it's going to look when I put the ribbon on, because the ribbon is going to cover up the top of that hole reinforcer. So if I work it out so that I think, oh, that's going to look best, the best part of that hole reinforcer at the bottom. So I'll place it like that. You should know by now I'm a fiddler, and that sort of, fiddly work appeals to me. I'll just turn them over and put one on the back. Now, the ribbon, string, or sari silk is entirely up to you. You can put whatever you want on there. I didn't show you this one. I did do one with the yellow dots. The ink didn't take too well on the yellow dots, but it had a lovely yellow dot on the back, which looked pretty okay. It looks very yellow from a distance, almost one, but it's got some white dots on it. It actually, even though the ink didn't take to the paper, for some reason the paper repelled the ink. I used the same printer on all of these, but this paper repelled the ink. So if you come across that, you may just have to change out your cardstock. All right, I'll put some string on these and show you what they look like all tied up. If you put a different ribbon on each tag, again, you get a different look. Change the colour. They're all the same, but different. This is a little bit of seam binding. A little bit of string off an old packaging from last Christmas. Some more seam binding, just in a blue. Some hemp string that almost looks gingerbread in colour. Same hemp string, only in green. Some more seam binding. And this is the sari silk. I think this turned out pretty nice, this one, the stripes with the sari silk. If you've made a vintage Christmas journal, this would look beautiful in your journal. And this one here is my least favourite. I don't like this one very much at all. But these colours might work for you, so I like to show them to you to give you that option with a little black tag on it. I hope I get to see what you've made on Donna. Have a Merry Christmas and bye for now.